Well, hello everybody. Happy Friday. It is the FearWorm Wormhole, and I'm here with FearWorm President Ernest Corder. Hi, Ernest. How are you?
I'm awesome. Tyler, how you doing?
I'm exhausted.
Yeah, me too. That's how it goes. It's like we're in the throes of May or something already because
I
of
know.
Transworld timing this year. We were talking about that the other day, that it's like, wait, it does not feel like February 24th. Normally we're just getting ready for Transworld. This feels more like
Right.
April 15th, like blowing and
It
going. But that's
really
a great,
does.
actually. I think we're going to get spoiled because we're all going to be like getting things done.
I think a lot of
Earlier.
hunt people will kind of like start their year via Transworld.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
with Transworld being earlier, it's like, all right, we're all in the game now. Whereas, like you said, normally we're still kind of in the last minute Transworld prep, trade show prep. And yeah, now we're like, it's go time. Like it feels like April. And
Yeah, I know.
so,
But I mean, the problem is we're exhausted because, like, as of the week of whatever this was, February 20th, how many
mhm.
client meetings have we already had this week?
Oh
Like
my
dozens,
gosh, I know.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's been insane, and it's been great though, because like Fearworm, we always try to push things
Yeah.
earlier and earlier and earlier, and get hunters thinking about their marketing earlier and earlier. That it's a great thing, and so we may be in the minority in the industry thinking that a February trans world is great. Whereas, like, I think,
Yeah.
that, like you mentioned it earlier, that in March we're all going to get lazy because it's going to be back in, or next year is going to be back in March,
Yeah.
and it'll be a whole different scenario.
Yeah. The only thing is you can't really do a first week of February trade show in St. Louis um, every year because
Right.
1 out of 3 years you're going to have an ice storm. Nobody can make it in. It's going to
Well,
be
we
like
kind of did this year, so maybe
just
next
just
year.
skirted it, just diverted
Yeah,
it this year, almost. But they had a great show, so it wasn't
yeah,
exactly
they did.
a bad thing that it was, you know.
So talking about this year and how we've been so busy, and it is earlier. Here we are. It's the last week of February,
Mhm.
and at least the last full week. Um, let's talk about 2023. And so today's wormhole is all about digital media targeting in 2023. And now, this topic I know tends to sometimes go over people's heads because we're going to get a little bit in the weeds of,
Nerdy and boring a little
yeah,
bit,
it's like
maybe, but it's
here
not
comes
boring.
the
It's exciting. Yeah,
yeah, to us it's not
it is.
boring.
To us
Uh,
nerds, it's exciting.
yeah, but we're going to get in the weeds of digital media targeting for this year, how that's changed over the past few years, and then really how that will affect your haunted house, your haunted event this year, this fall. So, Ernest, I'm gonna kind of let you kind of take it from the top here. And what's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
first thing that you wanted to talk about?
So I want to talk about data and how data is changing, right? The data that the internet knows about you, third party data, first party data, and then also about the different media pieces and how they fit into the sales funnel, right? So your sales funnel, like this, the bottom
Right,
of the funnel is like your pay per click. These are people
right,
searching for haunted houses near me. They want to read the text ad, click on it, buy a ticket, right? And just above that in the funnel are people they've been to haunted houses before, they're searching for it, they're looking at that kind of content, moving on up the funnel to where like your radio stations are at the top. You pick the right demographic, the right radio station, but it's anybody that's listening to that station. And a billboard's the very top of the funnel, anybody driving down the freeway, right? So how do these different data pieces fit into different parts of the funnel to make every one of those levels of the funnel? Because you do need top level funnel stuff. People who just throw every dime they have at pay per click, thinking I'm going to get everybody who's ready to buy a ticket to a haunted house right now. Well, what about everybody that was thinking about going to a concert or the movies or a game or doing something else, right? You completely miss the entertainment audience, right? So if you
right.
really want to be big, you really want to grow, you have to look at that whole funnel, and data plays a part in all of that. With digital media. So in talking about it with data, this has been a question. We've gotten into it with some of our seminars this year about third-party data and the iOS changes and how that data is kind of going away. It was always kind of wrong anyway, right? It was kind of like they'd say, go on one of these, data sites and put in to see who you are and see if it's actually accurate, right? My data, who the internet thinks I am, is completely skewed because I have all kinds of clients and all kinds of categories, right? I have medical clients. I have clients targeting, seniors and targeting kids so how does the internet know who I really am, right? It gets it all
Right.
screwed up anyway. And now that everybody's blocking all this on their phones, and maybe Tyler, you can talk a little bit more to that, but now that data is really screwed up, right? So it's not readily available to go to a company like Blue Kai and just say, I want people interested in haunted houses. Let me buy some data and then blanket that data across the board and see how I can target. A lot of that went away because Facebook was getting in so much heat over the use of third-party data on its site that they just basically got rid of it, right?
Right.
So that being said, people have come to me over and over and over again saying, how are we going to advertise anymore? How are you going to be an advertising firm without all this third party data? Which is just BS, right? It's kind of like, no, we're going to find new ways. And what's better than third party data? How about first party data?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's something we're working on a lot and we always have actually, is building your own database, building your own targeting through the use of emails that you collect
Hmm.
and from mobile IDs, which is the ID number for your phone, not your cell phone number, but the ID number that we can identify those ID numbers because those phones went to your haunt. They went to a different haunt. They went to the Comic Con or the Wizard Con. They go to the high school in your local area or whatever the target is that you think is the audience, putting all that together to build this first party database that you can then use that database across the internet, right? And that's first party. Hey, that's what the big networks, like the groups that own like let's say Time Inc. or something that owns like hundreds of websites, they're collecting all of that data themselves on usage. What do people click on? What, because you can get that, right? It's first party data. And then they use that themselves, right? Because they're having to build their own networks. And what better source for our clients, for the haunted attractions than doing that.
Yeah.
So that's
So
really, I
nice.
think, our focus. And it's something that makes us strong, right? Because we've always done that. So we're like third party data, who cares, right? Just keep going.
Right. So you mentioned, I think it'd be a good jumping off point. Like, let's get some of the hardcore nerdy data-ness out of the way. Because you
Yeah.
mentioned mobile IDs. And for the unindoctrinated, can you walk us through exactly what a mobile ID is and then how that can be captured and used?
Sure. So the mobile ID is tied to your phone, not your phone number or your account. The number's already on the phone when it's made and, the phone is built. So that is the number that is used by the cell phone towers when you go between tower to tower. So it doesn't drop your call, right? It knows where you are and it tracks where you are at all times based on that number. It's also the number that like the FBI has used for years to bust criminals because they say, well, we think you robbed this bank, and no, I wasn't there, and it's like, well, your phone was there in this bank at the precise time that this bank was robbed. So explain that, because it's all tracked, right? Your cell
Right.
phone is tracked, and it has to be because it's going from tower to tower. Also, even if you've clicked do not track me, do not follow me on your phone, like for privacy, do you use Waze? Do you use an app like Waze or Google Maps,
Or I check the
or
weather on the weather
check
app.
the weather, and you've given it permission to know where you're at so that the map will work? Is some fine print somewhere on that app. You just gave them the rights to sell that data. So
Yep.
even if you think you've hit it, you basically go get a flip phone if you don't want to be followed, right? And disconnect it because you are being followed. And so that data is available for purchase, right? AT&T and all these groups basically sell it out, and through the apps is how we get that data. You don't get everybody, but we can go back in time and say who was at this haunted attraction on the month of October, or even October 30th between 7 p.m. and 11 p.m. at this little geofenced area, and identify the phones that were there last year and
Mhm.
start building them into your own first party data. So that's what the mobile ID is. It's hard to use, I guess. It's hard to get. The average Joe just can't go get a list of mobile IDs. So it's a very technical piece, but it's it's the right people. Like I have restaurant clients, and we're trying to promote Sunday brunch. Well, identify all the restaurants within 5 miles of them, go find everybody who goes to between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. at those other restaurants, identify their phones, and then run to them because people are in that area and they like brunch. Same idea with a haunted attraction. And so based on what you're doing with that haunted attraction, right? So it could be a family friendly farm event or an agri event, right? Then cool, then go target the jump houses, right? And get the families.
The trampoline parks.
Trampoline parks and stuff like that, right? So it's just like if you go to a trampoline park, you probably have the 35-year-old mom with the 7-year-old kid. If that's who you're targeting for the pumpkin patch, go get those people, target to them, which means you don't have to advertise to everybody in the entire market. It costs $100,000. You can advertise to these people that cost $100,000, right? So that's the mobile ID, the nuts and bolts of it, and how that is such an important piece, as well as don't forget emails, right? Like we don't just build email lists to send emails. We build email lists to build databases that can then be used elsewhere.
Right. And we cross-reference those against social media platforms, say like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Google, etc. Or sometimes
and the way it cross-references, let's say it's a mobile ID list, you can cross-reference that against, say, Facebook, Instagram. Facebook, Instagram basically look and say, has that device logged in to Facebook? If so, what was the account it logged into? And then we can identify that account and run ads to that account. I guess the other really important thing about a mobile ID is, and the reason it's legal is because it's completely anonymous. You don't know that's Tyler Barnett's phone. You just know that phone was at a location at a time. And you know that phone is attached to a Facebook account. You don't know the name on the Facebook account.
Right.
You're just running ads. So that's why it is actually an anonymous form. Your competitor doesn't know that you were grabbing all the people that went to their attraction. You're just gathering an audience. And it's actually kind of an honest way because it's anonymous, but also if I'm interested in something specific, and I've shown that, if you're the mom and you have the kids and you went to the jump house, you want to see ads about other things to do with your kids, right? Age appropriate things. So you're actually helping that user, whether they like it or not, find advertising and events that are more relevant to them. So
I think, on that note, we just mentioned there, first party data will probably be the saving grace of advertising online, because right now we're going through this transition of both privacy and the elimination of third party data, where more and more, I think we're seeing ads that are less relevant. And like you said there, you kind of alluded to, I think everybody loves advertising and marketing when it's very relevant to their needs. Ernest, I know we've mentioned before, you're a guitar player and you don't give a crap about drums. And so you don't need to be seeing drum set ads. You need to be seeing, ads for guitar strings, picks, straps, guitars, things like that.
Yeah. I mean, like YouTube does a great job of it. Facebook actually does a great job of feeding those things to me. My feed is just full. I go to Instagram and it's just like guitar player, rock bands, whatever. It's all the stuff I'm interested in, which is great, right? So the data they're using, what Facebook uses, what Instagram uses, is that's first party data that they're learning about their users, right? So when you go buy an ad and you say, I want to target people that are like guitars, or guitar players, it's using its own first party data to go target those people, which is actually more relevant than the old third party stuff that everybody was buying and pushing into Facebook that kind of got them in trouble in the first place, right?
Exactly. So, I think the power of that really falls back onto when you're in the ad platform is the lookalike audiences. So like, let's say we have that mobile ID list, and let's say we captured, I don't know, 30,000 mobile IDs across different events and things like that. It's uploaded to Facebook. We match it against the user base. But then we tell Facebook, find us an audience that looks like this one against the existing user base. Because the more data points of that mobile ID list or an email list that you give Facebook, the better its algorithm can figure out exactly who that target market is.
If it has 30,000 to compare to, it's like, wow, I found that 28,000 of these 30,000 people all watch, Stranger Things or whatever it is, right? So I'm going to find more people who watch Stranger Things
Right.
and other data points that are close to those 28,000 people and build a new audience. I consider that a second party data
Right.
is kind of how I think of that, right? The first
But
party is
but it's almost like a smart audience. It's like a
yeah,
smart second party data because you are using, like, I always kind of like talk about the mobile ID data as like real time foot traffic remarketing. These are people that were actually boots on the ground, foot traffic into other haunted houses, escape rooms, the high schools, things
mhm.
like that. Um, and now we're using that as the guiding point for a lookalike audience that says go find people that are likely to be foot traffic people to haunted houses and escape rooms and things like that.
The
So yeah,
part
it's
where I
second
think
party
it can get
data,
a
but it's like a
little bit,
smart list.
yeah, the part I think it could get a little messed up is a lot of people are using social media networks for work, right?
Yeah.
And so, like with my other firm, have a lot of home improvement clients. So I'm constantly seeing like bathroom remodeling companies, window replacement stuff. Well, I don't need any of that for my house, but because I've looked at all that, I would likely be thrown into
Right.
that lookalike audience, right? For something that I don't care about, right?
Right.
So you lose a little bit of relevance where if they were at your attraction, they were at somebody else's attraction, they're 100% your target audience,
For sure. For sure.
but yeah, I mean that first party and second party, and it's all anonymous. We don't
Right.
know it's you. We know that we could find out that there's an address associated with that, but we don't actually ever see that address.
Right.
The internet gods see the addresses, the data within that, and finds those addresses and run the ads. We're never going to somebody's house. We don't know what's there.
I think the key word you use there is anonymous,
Yeah,
because
it's
I know
not.
some people when we talk about mobile IDs and capturing these things and following people around, um, we often will get that look or that question of how is this legal? Like how can you do this? And I know, like, even FearWorm, we've had to play witness to, like, people getting sued over data and things like that, and that's always the big thing, is that it's completely anonymous. And so that's going to be the saving grace of, like, if you think this might not be legal, I mean, in some countries it's not,
Well, I
thankfully.
literally took the stand. What was that? About a year ago,
Yeah.
in that kind of case, and the data was anonymous or retargeting based, and they threw it out, right?
Right.
An hour after I took the stand on it, because it's anonymous, right? You didn't
Right.
go after that person,
I
so
think that's the key thing.
keeps you safe, right? Keeps you
Right.
safe. It's not allowed in Canada. It's not allowed in the mobile ID usage
Right.
isn't. You can't
It's not
identify
allowed in
those.
Great Britain or through a lot of Europe.
Yeah, through I think the entire EU.
Right.
But it's good data. I like it, and you can use it in apps, right? In pre-roll video, OTT video, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, just a whole host of digital targeting. That's the other thing that I wanted to talk about today as well. Is every time we talk to somebody, what do you do? Well, we do Google and we do Facebook and Instagram. We think that's really successful. Well, we do Facebook, Instagram. There's 1,000 different things you can do on Facebook, Instagram. And there's also a million other places on the internet that people spend their time besides just Facebook and Instagram. So
Right.
let's
And
reduce.
usually the people that say they do Facebook are probably just boosting posts. It's almost like the Russian roulette of marketing. Like, I'm going to put money on this, hope it works. Just boost it, and they're done.
Or just I took an ad and I just ran this one ad and I just
Yeah.
ran the snot
Right.
out of it.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we talk about that? I mean, in talking about things that we know that we're doing a lot of and we're going to do even more of this year is Facebook, Instagram, and not just saying I'm doing Facebook, Instagram, but the dozen different tactics used within one. Because we may say somebody has a $10,000 budget for Facebook, Instagram,
Right.
but we might break that into 6 different things that we're
Right.
doing, different targets that reach people in different ways. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it starts with defining the KPI.
Mhm.
What is the KPI out of Facebook?
KPI being key performance indicator. What are you looking
Yes.
for? What are you trying to get out
Yeah.
of it?
And so, you were talking at the beginning of this about the marketing funnel, and kind of, so you talk about billboards at the top of the funnel, Google pay per click at the bottom of the funnel. But then where does Facebook fall?
Mhm.
Facebook is kind of the entire funnel. And so it just really, it depends on the KPI. And so that broad outreach marketing, top of the funnel. We're running for impressions or reach. running for views, things like that. Now, views can be top of funnel, but also kind of mid funnel, because if someone watches just 2 seconds of your video, they're probably just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. But if someone watches 80% of your video, they might be interested.
Mm-hmm.
And so we will do things, say we'll take, for example, your $10,000 Facebook budget, and we'll break it up to a campaign that is, reach objective. Then we're doing like an engagement objective or a view objective. We want, then, depending on how people interact in that first campaign, how they engage with the ads, then funnels them to an audience that is then the target for the next campaign. And then the same thing happens again, where depending on how those people interact with the ads, get funneled into an even further audience, and then another campaign is built for either clicks or conversions. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, in that, you can have 3 or 4 campaigns. Each campaign could have multiple ad sets with different targetings and objectives. And then each ad set can have multiple ads, and so everything just kind of multiplies. I think our base campaign, even for our smallest clients, are still like 2 or 3 Facebook campaigns, each containing, a multitude of ad sets and at least 30 ads running all at the same time.
Mm-hmm. So when
That's
we say Facebook, Instagram, as well, so you have social, and you have social media management stuff, organic, right? This is organic and boosting. This is the engagement. This is BT behind the scenes. It could be,
the community management development, part of that,
or it could be we're sold out tonight, a post. Then you have your outreach, which is I've made my 15-second video, my 30-second video. I want people who are in an age group in a geographic radius that have shown interest in entertainment, period. Think of it as like your television ad, on Facebook. Then you also have your retargeting. You visited my Facebook page, you visited my Instagram page, you went to my website. I now tag you, and I'm going to follow you around on Facebook. Right. And now I'm going to run to you 17 times because you're very right. Then you have your mobile ID email database, which is, let's take our own email list and these mobile IDs, reference them against Facebook, Instagram. And you want to hit those people a lot because they're absolutely your prime audiences. Or the secondary, build a lookalike list and do the same thing.
Yes.
That group, right.
And each of those, like each of those should have its own focus, like its own either little budget or its own ad set or its own creative, something like that. And that's exactly what we do.
Mm-hmm. Like retargeting might be a deal, might be an offer. Or we also use abandoned cart, right? People who they filled up the cart on your website and then they said, "Oh my gosh, that's too expensive," and they just bailed.
They got sticker shock.
That person send them a coupon, right, to come back and buy their tickets. But then you also have geofencing within Facebook, which isn't just half-mile radius. We've developed a tactic where we can geofence the convention center or a concert facility or somebody's haunt, which means while I'm there, if I click on my Instagram account, my Facebook account, boom, I'm getting ads, which is great for like entertainment events. Somebody's at a concert. What are they doing? They're on Instagram. They're taking pictures. They're posting. That's where they're spending their time. Boom. You got that.
You're at the Slipknot concert. All of a sudden you're getting an ad for Fear Factory.
Yeah, exactly. And then finally, what are the placements within Facebook, Instagram? Your in feed, you have your stories and your reels and all of those pieces as well. So so Facebook could be, just, oh, I do Facebook. Okay. That's a big thing, right? So how do you really do it right? That's how you do it. And so what that is a certain amount of it's branding and a certain amount of it is, I'm going to sell you a ticket right now,
Yeah.
So this year, everybody, it's kind of like, oh, what's the big thing for 2023? Oh, Facebook, Instagram. Well, of course it is. But here's how to do it right. Here's how to do some other things. Because everybody's like, oh, TikTok. Like we run the ads on TikTok because it's like, if you want to reach a 15-year-old, 18-year-old, you better be on TikTok. But the ads aren't great. The return is not.
So a fun report came out. I guess it was a little bit before Transworld. So as we know, Facebook and Instagram are still the largest, especially Facebook is still the largest social media platform in the world. Yeah. The fastest growing is TikTok. However, for the past year or so, TikTok user engagement has been going down until this year. That I don't know what's happened. I don't know if Facebook just has become more competitive or if they're offering similar products, whether it's
Yeah.
the vertical reels, but user engagement has started to go up on Facebook. And so that's a great sign because they have all this data we're talking about. And I know a lot of people will often say, yeah, we want to, our young people are our audience. We don't feel like they're on Facebook. And then we have to say, well, slow down, because you're kind of right, but you're also kind of wrong. And here's why. And now Instagram, still, that's the young people app. TikTok, the young people app. Snapchat, young people, and YouTube, young people. And all of these things, have this ability to use this data that we're talking about. And so yeah, Facebook is like, it's always been the big thing, but it's really not been until at least the last couple of years, until recently, that younger user engagement has started to go up.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that goes.
Well, we'll also see what happens with TikTok. I mean, we're getting all of these government, like universities and stuff, that are banning it on equipment. Right. You can't have the app on your phone if you have a company phone.
Right.
I mean, it's like, oh, everybody thinks big conspiracy theory. No, it's not a conspiracy. It's China. It just is, right? I mean, you are required as a Chinese company to give your data to the government, right? And so it is. They have it. Now, I don't know if they care that people are watching stupid pet trick videos or whatever, what they're going to get out of that. But
Well, I don't think it's really that. I don't think if, like, in this instance, if China really cares about the cat video you're watching. But what TikTok does do is it reads your data from other apps and browsers.
It opens up your phone.
Right. And so that's really the main driver. And I think Ernest, we're both on the same page of, like, we definitely hope that TikTok gets banned.
I hope it goes away, because then the people will just go back to Facebook and Instagram, and it's better advertising sources. So
right.
For me, I hate people getting lost in black holes of time. Speaking of black holes of media time, let's talk about another thing that's opening up more this year. Which is OTT video, streaming video, and the opportunity to advertise to that audience.
Yes.
OTT is called over the top video. Stupid name, but it basically means non-linear television type viewing. So anything where you're going to an app. I downloaded the app for Sci-Fi Network, and I'm watching a program on there, and I have to sit through an ad before it and one in the middle, right, to watch this. We were just talking about the HBO and Warner Brothers streaming lost $217 million in the fourth quarter. They're combining the two of those. They're trying to make these things worth. HBO just went up another $1 like 2 days ago on their
company is merging, like, on a corporate level. The company is merging with Discovery Plus. So Discovery and the Discovery Networks has acquired Warner Brothers, which then owns HBO. And so we'll see how if they decide in the future to merge those apps, because I know Discovery Plus has that ad option for you. And so,
Discovery Plus is actually making money. It's actually profitable. It's not hugely profitable. None of these are hugely profitable. But so the interesting thing on OTT video is, and streaming is, right. So Netflix was the first big player on it. You have Amazon, HBO, Disney Plus, all of these things that are basically wiping out everybody's viewership of television and other media. And they go into this black hole of Netflix, again, watching Stranger Things for 6 weeks straight and never watch any other television, never listen to radio or anything. So you lose that person. Excuse me. But what's happened is everybody's dumping their cable. They still want to see programs, and every TV's connected now. So it's like, well, I'm paying for Hulu and Discovery Plus and Amazon and Disney and Netflix and HBO Max. Bam, I'm paying $100 a month in streaming that I used to pay. That's what my cable bill was. So people are starting to opt out, right? They're starting to get rid of their Netflix. Plus, like, Netflix doesn't have the depth of great content they used to, because Peacock and Paramount and these others took their content away, right? Disney there's some old Marvels still on Netflix, right? But the newer ones are all going to Disney.
Well,
Star Wars.
Yeah, and it's like the opposite way too. It's like there was Marvel content that originated on Netflix that now has pulled and is now on Disney Plus.
Once it got past its contract, because they had
Yeah,
contracted for 3 years or 5 years or whatever it was.
right.
There's still a bunch of the movies that are still being played on TNT and TBS that haven't moved over to the apps yet, because they're in a long-term contract with TNT or TBS or something, and they're still playing those old movies.
So
But
Ernest,
anyway,
how
the
does
great
this benefit a haunted house?
what's that?
How does all of this like
So
ad
how this
thing
benefits a
transfer?
haunted house? Here's
Yeah.
the great way. So what's happened is they've had to go to an option like with Disney. I'm not going to pay 15, 16 bucks for every single one of the apps. So I did the advertising version of Disney, the sum ad version. I think it's $6 a month or something.
Mhm.
Now I have to sit through ads, which is a pain on Disney, right? And watching a movie. But or like I have Paramount, and my wife and I have been watching Yellowstone
Oh
to
yeah.
sit through ads,
Right.
but I'm not going to pay for 10 subscriptions at 15 bucks a piece. I will pay for 10 at $5 a piece. So now I'm seeing a bunch of ads again, where I'd been completely removed from advertising, television advertising, because of my subscriptions. Young people don't watch TV. They watch the snot out of subscription based stuff, Netflix and those. They are moving towards ad supported models. What this means is we now have opened up a television market for 16-year-olds and 18-year-olds and 20-year-olds that we haven't had in 10 to 15 years, right? Because it used to be everybody watched television all the time. You run it on MTV, you get all the young people or whatever, right?
Right.
Cartoon Network or whatever. And then you just lost them. You lost them for video. You lost them for full attention span, because when I'm watching Paramount and they're going to have 30 seconds worth of ads, I'm not getting up and going to the restroom, whatever. It's 30 seconds, right? You just watch it and it's non-skippable. So we now have that for young people. And it just started coming to fruition like on Netflix and Disney at the end of last year. By this Halloween season, I expect that to be full bore, right?
Yep.
And then you can also say, well, I want to run on these, but as they progress, it will be, I only want to run on horror content, or I want to run to households that have kids of this age in the household, right? The some of that OTT programming we can now run against the emails in the mobile ID base. So I'm only running my TV commercial to people who went to your competitor's haunted attraction, or to the
Nice.
kids who are in the high schools near your attraction. So the great thing is TV has been the most powerful advertising medium in the last, well, since TV existed, right?
Mhm.
Until Google, until, the internet. Um, it just opened that up for us. And that's actually huge. Now, it's not click through. You're not going to buy that ad and go, well, man, what's my click through rate? How many tickets did I sell? It's like you're watching it on your 54-inch TV in your living room, in your bedroom.
Right.
You're not clicking through anything, but you saw it and you got that brand
Right.
exposure, and it will lift everything else. So it's a huge
Yeah, your,
value.
your KPI there is going to be reach and probably frequency, view rate, things like that.
Yeah.
I think another thing to point out too is that when you're talking about all these streaming services and the rise of because it seems like with every show now on HBO Max, it's breaking some record of viewership. And first it was Netflix, like Stranger Things broke the all-time viewership record for season 4 or whatever
Mhm.
it was. Then House of the Dragon comes out, breaks the all-time viewership record, and these shows are winning awards. But we can't also forget though that when people love these shows, and these shows have these streaming platforms have these fan bases, and after a show, what they'll do is they'll then go to YouTube or to Twitch, and then they will watch after shows or podcasts or listen to things about the things they love, about the thing they just watched. So let's not forget then the also growth of YouTube and Twitch, which Twitch I know is another OTT platform. Uh,
Mhm.
to not forget that. Let's do the OTT stuff with Peacock, Paramount Plus, Discovery, HBO Max, like that. But then also couple that with a budget of ads to YouTube, to Twitch, things like that, to with the same kind of targeting.
Oh yeah,
So
people
you're
still
following
watch.
those viewers everywhere.
Yeah, people still watch a lot of it. It's just kind of like we don't run radio for a lot of our clients. They just don't have enough budget to get that high in the funnel to run
Right.
radio, right? OTT is still kind of the same thing, right? We're not going
Mhm.
to run Netflix ads. It's not the first thing we do. It'd be like, oh, I've got 10 grand to spend on my attraction. Okay, then you're going
Right.
to Google, or
Right.
Facebook, Instagram. That's it. But when the budgets get up there and you have enough to go up that funnel, then this is a absolutely perfect place. I'd take it over radio all day long,
Right.
because it's the right people, and you get to show this visual, and a captured audience where, running ads on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, just kind of
So let's
scrolling
talk
through.
about that. You've hit on something there, Ernest, that like if you only have a $10,000 marketing budget, why this might not be the best thing for you. Why is that? Is it because
Because there is no immediate click to the ticket, right? You're
mm,
not getting the bottom of the funnel. If you don't have much of a budget, you have to gather the people that are most likely to buy a ticket now, because you don't have enough money to
mm.
build an audience over time, right? So you've got to concentrate on Google or Facebook, Instagram, or things that are close to purchase.
Would you also say because you get less reach, because the CPM is so much more expensive than say
Oh
any other
yeah, that's true.
platform?
Your OTT, you may be paying $42 per thousand ads that run, right? Which is high. It's on the level of like cable TV, what that costs. Now keep in mind, that's $42 of basically everybody. The view through rate is 98, 99% watch the
Right.
entire ad. And it can be a 30-second ad, and they're still
And it's
watching.
targetable.
And it's targetable, and full attention, so it's worth it. But $42 per thousand ads, those, you spend $1,000 and it's like, what is that, like 20,000 ads, and you're done.
Yeah.
Where you can do keyword targeted display ads for $2 per thousand, right? Or your Google, your pay-per-click, or Facebook at much more affordable prices to get
For
the
sure.
right audience. Yeah. Yeah. So it's a nice to have. It's not a must have, but it's awful nice if you can have
Right.
it, especially this year for what we see.
So what else you got? What are you looking at this year, Ernest? Like, has you
Digital. So something we had, it's certainly not new, but really great success last year, was the best success we've ever had on Spotify. So digital
Mhm.
audio. I think we did some good things last year, some maybe better targeting than we'd done, which was really focusing in on geographic areas. Instead of saying, I want to run to the entire, Chicago market or Dallas market or something like that, we said, where are most important zip codes? And because radio has always been a frequency medium, not a reach medium. It
Right.
does not work if you hear an ad one time. They always say, the radio reps would be like, you need a frequency of 3. And I've always been like, no, you need a frequency of 7, right?
Right.
3, the first listen is you barely pay attention. The second listen is, oh, I think I heard that before. The third listen is, oh, I'm going to pay attention to this. But really, you
Yeah.
need the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, right? Of I'm paying
Right.
attention to this to make it work. But radio, the way radio is, the time spent listening has dropped so low that it's almost impossible to get even a 3 frequency on a radio station anymore.
Right.
But with Spotify, you say, well, instead of reaching 500,000 people one time, I'm going to reach 80,000 people 8 times, but they're the 80,000 people in the right zip codes, the right ages, the right mindsets, right? The right people who are going to buy a ticket. And that's what we did this year, is we got our frequency, right? We really got honed it in, got our frequency. And the crazy thing is, the click-through rates on the associated banners were exceptionally high, which is, considering most people are like listening in their car or whatever, not clicking a banner. It means they were really high, which meant the engagement was high, right? They were paying attention to it. So we're still bullish on Spotify, even more so. People always like, oh, but I pay for ad free on that. It's like, well, you're not paying for the people who pay for ad free. The only people that are counted in the numbers we look at are the ones that are accepting ads, right? So it's still a lot. And the younger you are, the more likely you are to accept ads on your Spotify.
Yeah. And it's like, I think you kind of alluded to it there. Is just it's just much more Spotify, digital radio, much more affordable than terrestrial radio. When you're looking at, like, and Ernest, you would know this better than I, but like the cost of a singular audio spot on terrestrial radio compared to the CPM of a digital radio.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the market, actually, right? If you're in a major market, you could still buy radio below $10 per thousand. In a major market, where small market, it may be 27, 35, 45, right? Where you're talking $15, $17 per thousand ads on Spotify, say. But that's that thousand only to 14 to 29-year-olds that live in the right zip codes. It's not The terrestrial radio is everybody within the reach of that radio station.
Anybody within a radio. Yeah.
Be gigantic, right? And so it's, oh, well, your cost was, $32 per thousand, including this guy that's 100 miles away from you and 40 years out of your age demo.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, radio still has its place, and mostly because of promotional stuff and because of DJs. Like we do DJ endorsements, the DJ goes through, they do their social media videos. It's posted on their site and the station site, and you share it, and there's some press opportunities, and there's all these other things with it, right? That's what radio has that Spotify will never have, because they don't have live DJs.
But let me ask though, is that even worth it though if no one's listening?
Well, it depends on the market, right? Some markets are still heavier radio listenership than others. If you are the really big event and you have 50,000 people coming and you're trying to get to 60, you got to hit more people at the top of the funnel, which is where radio and traditional media comes into play. So that's when you reach up to that. Or if you're in a little bitty market and the radio station costs $5 a spot, so you spend $1,000 a season, you buy the snot out of it, then it can be a value. It's just, there is no like, if in this size market and you have this much budget, then you want radio. If you're in New York City, you're never going to run radio because it's
right.
It doesn't make sense. LA is stupid expensive, but small, Peoria, you can buy it, right? You can buy the smaller market. It works. So, I mean, it's certainly not our favorite.
I know. So I know we usually hold questions till the end. However, this one's very topical. It's from our friend Austin. He said, is Spotify only zip code based, or can you target artists and genres? And the answer to that is you can do both. You can say, I want to target fans of Taylor Swift within these zip codes, and that's it. Now, your CPM will be more expensive.
Yeah, that's the bigger the reach that if you say, I want to take anybody in the Dallas-Fort Worth metro area, anybody, just give me a list, right? Then it gets real cheap per person because there's a whole ton of people in that group.
Right.
If you're saying I've got only these 10 zip codes and I only want people that like Tool, or something like that, now you've made the audience so small that you're going to have to pay a whole lot to reach them, or it might not even work. Like it might not even run. Now you can take a genre or multiple genres, say, I want top 40, I want hard rock, I want metal, I want, certain things. And here's 40 zip codes I want to run, or 30. And then that's where you find your happy medium. We're usually more interested in age group and geography than we are type of music. You also have a lot of podcasts on these programs as well, that anybody of any, it doesn't matter what kind of music you like, if you're listening to a certain kind of podcast, which is an engaged audience. And then we have some other ways, like we buy programmatically all these podcasts and music and stuff, which is just, no, I want this kind of person that's interested in haunted houses and they're listening to any one of these 20,000 podcasts or any of these stations or any of this music, because I don't care. You're in my zip code and you like haunted houses. I don't care.
Exactly.
If you're listening to classical music, you're my group, So yes, Austin, it's doable. You can do it. It's just a matter of the size of the audience and how it affects it. If you're trying to get New York City, then it makes sense because you need to decrease the number of people. So if you're trying to do
many people,
Providence, Rhode Island, you need more people,
Yeah.
Other things I was going to talk about for digital media that we're looking at this year, we've always done it, but it's just kind of getting better and better. Keyword targeting. So this is people, not text ads, that search for haunted houses near me that shows up in text right then, but people who today, yesterday, whatever, searched for haunted houses near me. You identify the device, the person that searched for that, and then bam, I'm going to send a bunch of ads to that phone all across the internet for my haunted
wherever
attraction.
that person may be.
Yeah, because I know they just searched for haunted attraction. That's a very low funnel, right? Bottom of the funnel. You can do this on YouTube as well, right? So what kind of programming am I running on YouTube? I don't care what you're watching. I don't care if it's cat videos or Marvel movies or whatever. If you just search for haunted houses near me and you live in my geographic area, you are on the bottom of sales funnel right now, and I want to reach you, right? And keyword targeting, because you don't care the format, you don't care what they're watching, the cost per thousand is really low, but it's a really highly focused audience. So that's something we do a lot as well. And then you have contextual which we haven't done as much contextual for haunted attractions, because contextual is more like I'm reading an article about a horror movie on some website, a review, and your ad shows up right in the middle of that
So,
horror
like as
movie.
an example, if you're on Fangoria's website and you're reading
Mhm.
about the next, A24 horror movie, that's where you could see it at.
Yeah, and then your ad shows up. So it's context. It's within the
Right.
context. It's not going to be a bunch of articles about haunted houses necessarily, not enough to show up.
Right.
But if you took it and said, but I want to be in the entertainment category, right? So it's movies, concert reviews, band reviews, stuff like that, then you can contextually show up. But again, that's moving up the funnel. It's a little bit,
Right.
a little
A
bit
great
higher.
tactic here would be like if you could specifically target, let's say, every year USA Today does their top
Mhm.
25 list of haunted houses, and we know as an industry that gets shared around a lot. Well, if your haunt didn't make the list, maybe run an ad targeting USA Today with contextually targeted haunted house, and you might
I
show
would
up
just
on that
target
day.
contextual haunted house across the board,
Yeah,
because it might be USA Today doing it. It might be the local
BuzzFeed.
newspaper's website that picked up that USA Today
Yeah,
story
yeah,
and is
it's true.
running it. And then you show up there, right? Because you don't care if it's the USA Today version. It's
Right,
just anything about haunted houses.
right.
It's still, that's really small. So if you were like, maybe if you're in LA, there's enough people that are going to see that on haunted houses to show up, but you probably
Mhm.
need to do haunted houses, horror, entertainment,
Right.
to be a broader category. Um, so anyway, I know this is like super nerdy talk that we've had, but it's all very, very important.
Yep.
It can be hard to do on your own, like Facebook, you can jump in, you can learn more, and you can do more. But or you hire us, or you hire somebody else that knows like how to do it. We didn't talk about Google at all. I mean, Google's always still number one, really.
Right.
For us, it's
Yes, I
just
mean they get the last click attribution every single time. It's
yeah.
where people are going to go to find you. When you have a group of kids sitting around and it's like on a Friday or Saturday, and you're like, "Hey, what are we all doing tonight?" And it's like, "Do you want to go to a haunted house?" And someone goes, "Oh, what was that? What was that hayride like?"
Mhm.
And they go to Google and they search, scariest hayride in Minnesota.
So you better be there.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
you better be there. Or your guy down the street steals your customer that you just spent all that money up funnel because you weren't there
right,
at the bottom of the funnel.
right,
I mean, SEO is still super important and you can show up, but Google puts ads above
right.
organics. There's always a couple ads above the organics, so your
Oh yeah, I
competitors
mean the
will
Google
show up
search
before.
page has completely changed to what it was 3 or 4 years ago. I mean now you
It
have
just changed
all
again. Now it's this like long page. There's like some
yeah,
ads, then the map stuff, then the organic, then some other things and
not even
questions.
it's like the organics even
Questions
further
show up.
down
Yeah.
because like the very top now are like the shopping ads, and then
That's true.
it's like the image search results. You get a few of those. Then you have the questions with the click down
Mhm.
box, then ads, then the organic, and then the whole time over here you have the business listing with like Google Map and all that stuff, and
Mhm.
so it's completely changed.
So that's
Um,
the tip on that. Get your Google My Business listing and make sure you're
yeah,
update it on a regular basis and throw that, because Google loves Google best. And
yeah,
even if your organic doesn't show up till page 4, the Google My Business listing is also based on proximity to your location. And if
right.
somebody happens to be in your area, it'll still make you
On
show up
page
before
one
them.
at the top. Yep.
Yeah, more than the guy who paid a bunch of money to be there or shows up number 1 in organic. Bam, you're still there on the
Right.
map. I
So,
often use that myself for services and stuff.
mm,
Very often, or a restaurant, I use the map. I never even look at the stupid
right. I
text
do the
list.
same.
Right?
So we have 10 minutes left on the wormhole. Now's the time. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. We'll do our best to get through them all. We've had one great question already from Austin. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about a very nerdy, kind of high level here, digital marketing and targeting specifically, which I know tends to confuse a lot of people. And so, but don't hesitate, don't be afraid. Ask questions if you have them. Now is your time. Um, Ernest, is there anything that you're super excited for that maybe we're not talking about?
I don't know. Is there supposed to be? The thing I'm most excited for is I want to be on Netflix and I want to be on Disney Plus. I want
Mhm.
to run. Now, Disney Plus, you're probably gonna have to do age targets and do like 18 plus or 21 plus. But I want to be the paid ad in the Mandalorian that you're sitting through for somebody to come to our haunted attraction. Like, I can't think of a better
Do you
spot.
think we would ever get an ad approved on Disney?
That's, it's big. That's a good point, because that's still to be seen, right? I don't
Yeah.
know what's going to be allowed
I
there.
feel like that is so family focused, and Disney is so strict on children and what they could see.
Well, we'll see, but like I
Yeah,
said, I know you'd have to do an 18 plus or 21 plus target on it.
right.
Just thinking about Disney Plus, right? But Disney Plus, they may allow us just to buy into Marvel, and just Marvel with an age group, right? You're not even in the Pixar stuff. You're not even ever going to show up there, you know? So it's going to be real interesting to see, what happens there, where Netflix is probably not tied to Disney or something. Netflix is probably gonna be like,
Right.
look, you can, disembowel somebody in your video. We're fine. Um,
As long as you're targeting over
or
18, you're
HBO.
good.
I haven't heard about HBO Max offering ads yet. I don't know if they will. It's HBO. HBO
Right.
running ads is kind of, it seems weird, right?
So I know
Um,
Matt had sent me some of the paperwork more on like on ad specs and regulations, and I forget the platform it was for. Um, but I was looking it over, and it seemed pretty open to potentially like haunted house horror advertising. I mean, it was kind of the typical stuff, meaning like no alcohol, cigarettes, no drug use, no political ads, no social commentary, things like that. But there was nothing in there regarding horror or Halloween or like anything scary or sensational. So
Well, the movies are going to be using it big time,
right,
right? They're going to be running their ads for the horror movies all over Netflix. Netflix
right,
is full of horror stuff now, so it's a perfect format for it. So they got to allow that. It's at least suspenseful and scary. It's somewhat scary. Yeah, so we'll have to see. I think like everything else, it's going to vary widely by the source. I think Disney's going to be super picky about it, and I think
mhm,
Paramount and Netflix are going to let you do whatever you want to do. Would be my
right.
guess. So
So
we'll see. We'll see. But
we
like
had a
Abe asked the question here,
yeah,
yeah. Would you say consistent brand look is important for streaming services? And you know the answer, Abe. Of course it is. It's going to be ultimate importance. This is your place to showcase Abe's cool videos, right? And to build that brand,
right,
because it's not about immediate click through, and it's about building a brand, building a presence, making people, want to learn more, even though they're watching their show, so they're not going to click off right now. It is big time brand.
right.
And there's a bunch of marketing people in this industry that are trying to jump into this industry. They're all just about, I'm going to prove every dollar you spend is, get this much back. And we do that. We send our reports and we say, oh, look, you made a 10 to 1 or 20
Right.
to 1 or whatever on certain parts of media. If it's OTT, don't ever buy OTT if you think you're going to get some big ROI. You're going to be sorely disappointed.
Right.
But a good marketing mix could include that to build that brand. Everybody talks about the brand as like just the ROI. You know why you build a brand? You build a brand so you don't have to worry about how many tickets did I sell off of this dollar, because you're just going to sell a crap ton of tickets every year because you're the shit and you're the brand,
You've
right?
built a strong brand.
Build the strong, the companies that did best in all, during the this economic issue, which what the what do you call it, the inflation numbers came out today, and they were the worst they've been in like 10 months or something. So it ain't going away, right? The brands that people are willing to spend the money on are the big the brands they
Yeah.
know and trust, right? So yeah, ultimate importance.
So we just had a great question come in from Aaron. And I'm going to just read this for everybody. It says, to run these ads, especially when it comes to visual media ads, like streaming services, would the process of approval and contacting the company itself be easy enough for an independent haunt to figure out themselves? Or let me see, I lost my place. Or would the process need to be handled through a marketing agency? Obviously, would help streamline things no matter what, but still.
So on some of the services, I mean, if you know what you're doing, like Hulu is probably the easiest, right, to go buy some ads on.
Yeah.
Um, they may have well, there's a platform for it, and I guess it's It's self-serving, the fact that you don't have to have a seat at the exchange on the programmatic
Right.
exchange like we have to buy it, like to go buy
Right.
Hulu. I don't like Spotify. Somebody can just go buy ads on Spotify. You can go on there just like you can on Facebook and buy ads. HBO's, Disney's, those kind of things. I would think they're not doing that yet. They don't have enough ad inventory to need to just open it up to anybody to jump in
Right.
and buy ads.
And I think
The OTT services, programmatic services, like I'm going to run on Sci-Fi's apps or HGTV's app or CNN's app or whatever, you have to buy that programmatically. You don't just go to CNN.com and start buying video.
And I think to deeper his question though is like, let's say he runs into a problem where his ad's not approved. How difficult is that to contact somebody at those streaming services, to get a hold of, like, to start, and which I know all of or any self ad platform, self-working platform, self-serve platform, sorry, will have some form of process to like review your ad, whether that's Facebook, whether that's TikTok, whether that's Hulu, Google. They have the system there. Now, here's the problem: is that these are businesses, and their focus, like their top tier focus, is going to be, the people that are spending $1 million with them, and not $2,000 for a haunted house in Dakota. So you have to just assume that there's.
It's also going to be an automated approval process. Some AI bot's going to watch that video first and say, is there blood? Is there gore? Is there weapons? Is there whatever? And then spit it out. So before you ever get to a person.
The benefit of an agency is that oftentimes we have a direct person that we can talk to, like a real live person. So like as an example, for Spotify, I have a guy named Brian that if I have an issue, I email Brian. I was like, hey, can you take a look at this and tell me if I need to change anything, or if you need to change anything, let me know. So it really just depends. And that is a benefit, Aaron, of working with an agency, is that we have, in most cases, developed relationships directly with people, real people at these platforms and services.
Well, the other thing is, like Matt, who's the digital media director for my other firm, for Red Rock Digital and Digital Record, that we do some of this through. He's able to say, I want to run ads to 14 to 29-year-olds interested in horror that are in these zip codes. And I want to run that on Hulu, Amazon, Sci-Fi, Paramount, whatever, and can throw like 8 or 10 of these services all in one buy. So that it's not just how much money did I go spend on Hulu? How much did I spend on Netflix? How much did I spend here? It just kind of spreads it out and finds those people. Right. You can't do that as an individual. If you want to take a look, I would probably look at Hulu first, because it was one of the first, easiest, cheaper ones to get ad supported. So that's probably the first to take a look at, I would say. But yeah, and then see if they have an ad specs, some kind of, these ad requirements, and follow it, because otherwise you're going to waste a lot of time making ads.
Follow it to a T. Yeah. Another great question here from our friend Rich. He's asking, is there info anywhere on the number of ad-based versus non-ad-based subscribers for each service? And I think a great answer to this would be, for some, yes, but a lot of these services are new, and a lot of these ad platforms, like Netflix or HBO rolling out ads, are new, so they really haven't released that information to advertisers yet. I can say, like offhand, I was just mentioning Spotify. Spotify is 70% ad-based listeners. So like I know that
it used to be 60%, which means people are accepting more ads. They're actually they're dropping down their amount of subscriptions they're going to have out there.
And then we've also seen news recently. I wish I had the link in front of me, but I'm sure anybody can Google THR. But Netflix recently rolled out their ads platform, and of course they do it to try to persuade new subscribers to join at a more affordable price. And then what happened, it kind of backfired, is that existing subscribers downgraded to save money. And so those numbers are out there. I can't remember what they are in front of me, but I know that's
happening across the board though, right? Yeah. It's not that many new subscribers said, oh, I didn't do it because it was $14, or I didn't do it because it was 12. Now I'm going to do it because it's $6, and the ads and the non-ads went to $16 or whatever.
Right.
$6, $12. If you're not that interested in the content, you're not going to buy it, right?
Right.
But like what I did on my Disney, because I still have the non-ads on Netflix, which I need to drop that down to the advertising rate of Netflix. But the Disney went to like $16 or $20 or whatever. I said, forget it, I'll take the ads. And
Yeah.
so technically they lost $10 a month for me. I'm still a subscriber. They just get $10
Right.
less, and I watch a few ads. I don't watch enough ads to make up that $10 is the real problem. They're counting on not 20 million subscribers. They're counting on 400 million subscribers, right? To make
Right.
that ad supported version work.
Right.
But at that point, you almost have to go free. They've almost got to have a free tier that's fully ad supported. I don't know. Then we're back to cable, right? We're back to the same.
Yeah, I'm a little bit like you, where like some of the services I have are the ad levels, like Peacock or Discovery. I'm at the advertising level. And then, but like where I'm such a fan of Disney, like they pretty much take all of my money. I'm at the ad free, like I'm at the top tier level for Disney. But I can see though where it depends on the user. What are they a fan of? What do they like? If you love Ghost Adventures and the Ghost Hunter shows, and that's what you're in the bag for, you probably have the ad free version of Discovery Plus because they have all of those shows from Travel Channel and all that stuff. But yeah, I think, Rich, as time passes, as these platforms grow and become more open to advertisers, they will have to release, sales kits and info about how much are the ad-based users compared to the non-ad-based. So we'll see.
Spotify and Pandora and those, they didn't do it at first. Excuse me. I remember at very beginning of Pandora, when it was the only thing we could buy ads on, we would tell them, this is the market I want to be in. This is my age group. And they would go do a check to see if there was even enough people there to sell me an ad campaign, because there were so few users. And then as that grew, then it wasn't a problem. But it is going to be a problem still right now for Netflix or Disney. There's not enough people that have gone to that.
I just realized another one would be Peacock. There are no ad-free tiers you can pay for. Every user on Peacock is an advertising, like they run ads at every level. So on that one, we could say 100% of users are advertising-based users.
It's crazy that like CNN just put theirs out, the CNN Plus, and it was only like $1.25 a month, but it had some extra shows and things that weren't. There was a Yellowstone show with Kevin Costner that was all about Yellowstone. They just killed it. The thing was only been out for like 3 or 4 months, and they killed the service. Is what I saw, because like nobody signed up. So I don't know. I mean, to me, don't charge $1.25 if you're going to do it for CNN. Just make it free. Like I'm not going to pay you for
and just have ads. Yeah,
and just have ads. Yeah. They're all trying to hold on to this behemoth that's made billions of dollars forever, and now people don't want to pay that anymore, and they don't want to give it up. It's like newspapers that try to pay you, to make you pay to read their content online. They're 3-day-old content, online from the newspaper, and you can put it behind a paywall. All they really did was say, look, I used to have 1 million subscribers. Now I have 100,000 subscribers, and now I only have 10,000 people that pay me online. So it's just shoot yourself in both feet. So I don't know. I see things like HBO or Disney being able to keep that premium. I see things like Peacocks and ABCs and CBSs and CNNs having to go to a free model, or they won't make it.
For sure.
I ain't gonna pay for it, right? I'm not going to pay to watch CNN and be depressed, on the news.
Just go to YouTube. Just go to YouTube for your news. That's what I do.
AP News, or whatever.
But you know what, though? That's going to kind of be it. Rich, you'll be the last question of the day for today's wormhole. Ernest, thanks for joining today and talking about all things data with me. Guys, we'll be back. This is not the last wormhole we're doing, so pay attention to the FearWorm socials for whenever our next one will be. We have to talk to Laura, I guess, when the next one will be. But yeah, no, thanks everybody for watching today, and we will see you next time. Have a great weekend, everybody.